for the fans. The glory for the pinstripes.
The season is over, but the backroom deals are heating up. A bombshell report on the future of our superstar slugger just leaked, and it could mean the end of an era. You want to know who stays and who goes? Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single update. Your trusted analyst here, coming at you straight from the heart of the Bronx. And today, we need to have a serious talk. The feeling is pure frustration, a bitter déjà vu that just keeps repeating every single October. Getting knocked out by the Toronto Blue Jays in the ALDS wasn't just a loss, it was the confirmation of a disturbing pattern, the physical proof of a systemic problem that's been plaguing our organization for the better part of a decade. And at the center of it all is the biggest tragedy in modern baseball, the absolute waste of Aaron Judge's prime. We are witnessing history being made by one of the greatest hitters to ever step on a field, a true giant in the sacred pinstripes, and yet, his legacy with the Yankees is in danger of being defined not by championship rings, but by a string of playoff failures. It's unacceptable. When you put on the pinstripes, the expectation isn't just to win, it's to dominate, it's to build dynasties. And what we've seen in recent years is a team that can shine in the regular season, often bullying lesser opponents, but shrinks, becomes unrecognizable when the October lights come on and the competition gets real. Judge, at 34 years old, should be collecting titles right now, just like the greats who came before him. Jeter, Rivera, Posada, Williams. Those names are synonymous with winning. Yet Judge, our captain, our MVP, carries the weight of an organization that seems to have lost its identity, its mystique. The loss to the Blue Jays was the perfect example. Except for one single game where the offense miraculously showed up, we were completely dominated, silenced. We saw a team with no fight, an anemic offense, and in-game management that once again raised serious questions about the leadership in the dugout. This isn't a one-season problem. This is the climax of a cycle of questionable decisions, a flawed roster-building philosophy, and an apparent complacency that has taken over the halls of Yankee Stadium. Yanks Nation is tired of excuses. We are exhausted from hearing about bad luck, or that's baseball. What we want are answers, and more importantly, change. Real, significant change that starts at the top and brings the glory back to the Bronx Bombers. The Aaron Judge era is flying by, and every year without a title is a stained page in the glorious history of this club. We cannot allow one of the greatest Yankees of his generation to end his career with the same fate as Don Mattingly, a beloved icon, but without the ring that validates his greatness in New York. The time for accountability is now. Let's dig deeper and point the finger. Because a failure of this magnitude doesn't just happen. It's built, piece by piece, decision by decision. And the two main architects of this era of frustration have names: Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman. Let's start in the dugout. Aaron Boone might be a stand-up guy, someone you'd want to grab a beer with, but as the manager of the Yankees, he has been consistently outcoached when it matters most. His management during the Toronto series was a microcosm of his 8 years at the helm. Inexplicable lineup decisions, a blind faith in players who were clearly slumping, and substitutions that left fans and analysts scratching their heads. The decision to pull Ryan McMahon, who was having a good game and had just hit a home run, to put in Ahmed Rosario, who then failed on a crucial defensive play that opened the floodgates for the Blue Jays, is indefensible. It's the kind of move that shows a lack of feel for the game, an over-reliance on predetermined analytics over what's happening on the field. And what about the insistence on starting Austin Wells at catcher for every single playoff game, despite him hitting just .227 with a .488 OPS, while Ben Rice, an option many were clamoring for, warmed the bench? Boone claimed it wasn't a hard decision to pick Wells. For us, the bleacher creatures, it's hard to understand that logic. But the problem goes deeper than the manager. Brian Cashman, the general manager, has been in charge long enough to have an entire era named after him. And the truth is, Cashman's philosophy for building this team is flawed. The comparison to the 2009 championship team is painful and revealing. That year, Alex Rodriguez, the team's best player, had a 1.308 OPS in the playoffs. He had help. He had Hideki Matsui with a 1.136, Derek Jeter with a 995. It was a balanced lineup, with contact hitters and power hitters. Now, look at Aaron Judge's support in 2025. Cody Bellinger with a 726 OPS, Jazz Chisholm Jr. with a 594, Anthony Volpe with a 560, and most shockingly, Giancarlo Stanton with an abysmal 454 OPS. Judge posted a Herculean 1.279 OPS, but he was basically on an island. That's not bad luck. That's a design flaw. It's the result of years of betting on an all-or-nothing model of power hitters, who are prone to strikeouts and disappear in the postseason, while neglecting the need for players who put the ball in play and move runners over. The Cashman-Boone era has been defined by a chronic inability to beat the big boys, to get past elite teams like the Astros, Red Sox, Dodgers, and now the Blue Jays. Stability can be a virtue, but when it perpetuates mediocrity, it becomes an anchor. The buck doesn't stop with Brian Cashman, though. To understand why the Yankees, the evil empire, stopped acting like it, we have to look up to the owner's chair. Hal Steinbrenner is simply not his father, George Steinbrenner. The legendary boss was known for his impatience with losing and his willingness to spend whatever it took to bring a championship to the Bronx. Hal, on the other hand, seems to operate with a more corporate mindset, focused on profits and keeping the payroll under tighter control. This shift in philosophy is the root cause of many of our problems. We lost the Juan Soto sweepstakes, a failure that rings even louder now, because we weren't willing to get into a bidding war. We've watched other top teams spend without fear to assemble super rosters, while the Yankees have become more cautious, more reactive than proactive in the market. The result is a team that lacks the necessary depth to compete with the best. This penny-pinching mentality trickles down to Cashman's decisions and directly impacts the product we see on the field. Now, we're at a crossroads. The 2026 offseason will be one of the most important in the club's recent history. We're set to lose key pieces. Cody Bellinger will likely decline his $25 million player option to seek a multi-year deal. Trent Grisham, after a 34-homer season, will also be looking for a big payday that the Yankees might not be willing to hand out. Paul Goldschmidt, the one-year bet at first base, isn't expected back after an inconsistent performance. That leaves us with massive holes in the outfield and at first base. The question hanging in the air is, what's the plan? Are we finally going to give Ben Rice a shot as the full-time first baseman? Are we going to keep trusting Austin Wells as our long-term catcher despite his struggles? Or are we going to hit the market for solutions? The truth is, the team's core is aging, and the replacement pieces don't seem to be on the same level. Anthony Volpe, despite some flashes, still hasn't established himself as the elite shortstop we hoped for. The bullpen, once a fortress, has become a weak point, with Devin Williams likely gone after a terrible season and an urgent need to find reliable arms, especially lefties. The starting rotation with Garrett Cole, Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, and Clark Schmidt looks solid on paper, but Cole's recovery from Tommy John surgery is a huge question mark. We can no longer afford band-aids. We need a clear plan, a vision for the future that goes beyond just hoping Aaron Judge hits 70 home runs. We need a complete re-evaluation of how this team is built, managed, and funded. The complacency has to end. So what's the path forward? What should we, Yanks Nation, demand from our team this offseason? The answer isn't in one single blockbuster signing, but in a fundamental change in philosophy. First and most urgent, the bullpen needs a complete overhaul. It was our Achilles heel all season and cost us crucial games in the playoffs. We need more than just David Bednar and Camilo Doval. We need depth, multiple quality lefty relievers, and a lockdown closer we can count on in the ninth. Spending big on the bullpen isn't glamorous, but it's how you win championships in modern baseball. Second, we need a clear offensive identity. Enough of relying solely on the long ball. We need athletes, contact hitters who can steal bases, play hit and run, and put constant pressure on opposing defenses. Why not get aggressive and try to poach Bo Bichette from Toronto? It would be a way to strengthen our infield while simultaneously weakening a direct division rival. It's the kind of bold move the old-school Yankees would make without hesitation. And finally, the leadership question. 8 years of Aaron Boone is enough. A decade of evidence shows that under his command, this team can't get over the hump. We need a new voice in the dugout, someone who can hold players accountable, who is an elite strategist, and who can reignite the fire and urgency that seem to have faded. The name Don Mattingly, currently with Toronto, comes up as an intriguing possibility. Bringing back a Yankee legend who understands the pressure of New York could be the exact jolt we need. But now, I want to hear from you. I want the voice of the bleacher creatures and all of Yanks Nation to be heard. What is your number one priority this offseason? Who do you think needs to go? Boone, Cashman, or both? Which free agent do you consider essential for us to get back to competing for a World Series title in 2026? Drop your opinions in the comments below. Your voice is crucial at this critical moment for our club. The 2025 season ended painfully, but the battle for the future of the Yankees starts now. For in-depth analysis, breaking free agency news, and all the off-season coverage that really matters, make sure you're subscribed to the channel with notifications turned on. I'll be right here on the front lines, bringing you all the info. We will not settle for anything less than excellence. We are the New York Yankees. It's time we started acting like it.